Hi, this is Carlos Cousins, and the following is an SAT long passage question that is asking us to evaluate whether or not we can find evidence of all four of these statements in the passage that we've just read. These types of questions tend to be a little bit more time consuming. I'd leave them toward the end of your work on this section, mainly because you have to find evidence for each of the specified statements before you know for sure that they can be a valid answer choice. It turns out that these four, however, happen to be easily found in the passage once you really understand what this passage is about, and that's because we're talking about here that there are unjust laws, and we want to disobey the laws that exist. There's supposed to be some sort of civil disobedience that is being argued for here, and for evidence we can look at something, for example, like this, where the state places those who are not with her is jail, right? And we call this a more free and honorable ground than following the law when the law is unjust. And it says here, if any think that their influence would be lost there, that one would not be influential in prison for disobeying the law, and their voice no longer afflict the ear of the state, that they would not be as an enemy within its walls. They do not know how much truth is stronger than error. So there's an appeal here to doing the right thing that should override any sort of comfort or personal allegiance to the state, because of all of the injustices that the writer of this passage sees in the laws of the United States and of Massachusetts in particular. How much more eloquently and effective he can combat injustice was experienced a little in his own prison. Cast your whole vote, not a strip of paper merely, but your whole influence. This vote here that he's talking about is just disobey the law, and if you end up put in prison, you end up put in prison for a good thing. And if enough people do it, the state will have to listen. The state will not hesitate which to choose between putting way too many people in prison that it doesn't even have the money to support, or give up war and slavery. If we all disobey the state will have to listen to us. That's the main point here, and you see that in this one little paragraph of the entire passage. Once you've understood that, if you look at number 1, it says, Massachusetts has provided this place for her freer and less desponding spirits. This has to be true. Yes, Massachusetts didn't intend to provide prison as a place for the freer and less desponding spirits, but in passing laws that make it so that you must be an unjust person that oppresses other people by following the law, Massachusetts then makes the prison, according to the author of this passage, the only place for the freer and less desponding spirits of the state. Number 2 then, so number 1 would be correct. Let's see if number 2, if the state has locked persons out by its own, the state has locked persons out by its own act. And yeah, if the state is the one that is passing these laws and enforcing them, it's the state that is putting people in like positions of hurting others without them wanting to. So it's a state that's doing it. The persons have put themselves out of the state by their own actions. If people here, right, if we're talking about a just person would be put out of the state into the prison. We talk about the dichotomy here of the free part of the country, which is a prison, where people do what is correct, and it has a positive connotation, and the negative connotation of being out and about doing what the state forces you to do, which is unjust. So the people themselves, the just people, would choose rather to go to prison to do the right thing than to do the wrong thing. So just people would put themselves in prison themselves. The state places person there who are against the state. That by definition is what prisons do. So 1, 2, 3, and 4 needs to be the right answer. I hope that made sense and that this helped you solve this problem. Happy prepping.